Hello good people, a warm welcome to Liz Wataka show. Karibuni sana to today's show, and I have an amazing guest with me. We are at Big Square Mountain View branch. Watu wa Waiyaki mnaelewa nikisema hivyo. Tuko hapo tunakula ribs kidogo na my interviewee. Tumesema leo ni Big Square manenos. By the way, big up to Big Square for giving us this chance to hold this show here. Tunashukuru sana, and for my people, Big Square is a good joint to come and enjoy with your family. Wanafanya deliveries hata ya vitu zao, food nini, wanatumia Bolt, Glovo, Uber, Jumia. Najua kunanyesha na watu hawataki kutoka home. But we got you covered as Big Square Mountain View. Unapiga tu simu na sisi tunacheza, sisi tunakudelivia, si ndio? So welcome to today's show. I have an amazing guest. She's called Faith. She's a consulting therapist and a coach. She's a certified psychologist who deals with trauma recovery. She's a trauma recovery coach and a counselor. She's a mental health and self-care expert who is passionate about working with people through the journey of mindfulness in life. She deals with so many things, and she provides support to many things like drug addiction recovery. I know most of the people nowadays are struggling with maybe drugs and life trauma, post-traumatic stress disorders, tunaitanga PTSD, alafu emotional pain and grief, helping them to heal and bounce back to wholeness. Nani haizi taka ku bounce back to wholeness? Munaelewa hiyo part ya grief, eh? If you ever have lost someone close to you or a loved one, you know the challenge of grief. And I decided today we talk about grief because it is a topic that most people don't talk about, but it is very important in our lives. And I will be welcoming my guest, atusalimie, then we can continue from there. Karibu sana Faith.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Karibu.
Yes, I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. You're welcome. Now Faith, talk to us. Sisi tunasumbukana huku nje, and we need to know these things.
Yeah.
What is grief?
Grief is actually the emotional response to loss. I believe each of us at some point in life, we have gone through loss of one kind or another. I don't think any person is exempted from this particular topic.
Yeah. So is it okay to grieve?
Yes. It's very okay to grieve. Grief is a normal reaction to losing something or someone, because when we talk about grief, we are not only talking about death of a loved one, though it is the most known, but we also talk about loss of a job, loss of a lover, loss of a pet. We are talking about different kind of losses, loss of a loved one through death, which is the most common, loss of a job, loss of a pet. You know, people grieve after losing pets.
Pussy kikufa.
Hey, I'm at a doggy, you know, because it depends with the attachment. I would want to liken it to a person who has two dogs as pets. One, the person lives with one in the house, and the other one is at the gate. Mwenye ako kwa gate akipass, this person is likely to just replace and move on. But when the dog that is in the house passes on, this person will feel some kind of way because they used to maybe snuggle with the dog. So it depends heavily on the type of attachments. You can lose a person through death, maybe your father or your mother, and you did not have a really close relationship. It will not hurt as much as someone who was deeply attached to the parent. So yes.
So
it is okay to grieve. It is very, very okay, because it is a normal response to loss.
Okay, okay. Faith, what is the difference between grief and mourning?
So grief is actually the emotional response that involves what happens inside us after we have lost someone or something, while mourning is what we'll see on the outside. You see, the shaving of hair in some traditions.
Or ile after burial, uko chini, uko kwetu, uko chini, after 3 days, familia mzima watu wananyoa nywele.
Yeah, so that is a kind of mourning. Mourning is the outward appearance of grief. Grief is what happens inside, all the blame, all the anger. We understand.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. And is it possible to avoid grief? Inawezekana.
We are human beings, and human beings are emotional beings. That means if I lose someone and I was attached to this person, there is no way I'll be able to avoid grief, because grief is a process, you know. Grief is a process, so there is no way I loved someone and then I lose them and I manage to avoid grief. It's not possible.
How long should it take, or maybe how fast how fast can it be to grieve? Because unakaa mtu anakwambia ai pia wewe umeshindia hiyo story sana.
I think the problem with our society is lack of awareness on this aspect of grieving, you know, because people usually celebrate birthdays like every year. You see, there is no time as a woman you'll give birth, and then after like 5 birthdays, the people who you invited to the first birthday start telling you, why are you still celebrating, you know, because it's been like 5 years, so why are you still? And even to 50 years, people still celebrate birthdays. So I feel like it's so unfair for us to put a time frame to grieving, because grieving is so personal. It's different for everyone. So one person may grieve for like 6 months and become okay. Another one might take 1 year and become okay. And another one might take more than 1 year, even 3 years, still grieving. And it should not be seen as any, what I'm trying to say, there's no specific time frame for grieving. So it's not a good thing to like put a time frame after you lose your husband, your mother. After 1 year you are supposed to have moved on and picked up, you know, get on with life. It's not possible.
Okay. And are there effects, maybe positive or negative, when you grieve?
So the positive effects are, you know, grieving is, it shows you love this person, you know. I tend to look at grief as love, that you have so much love within you for this person and you don't know where to put it, where to express it. So you end up grieving because this is love that is overwhelming you and this person is not there. So the positive side of grieving is it shows you love this person. And that is why we are saying it's okay to grieve, because it's an action of love. The negatives are maybe the physical symptoms that will come up if you don't deal with the grief. For example, headaches, dizziness, you know, the anger and bitterness. When you come to the emotional responses, you might be angry for a long time, you might feel empty for a long time, you might feel depressed. So those are some of the negatives.
Is grief unhealthy or dangerous maybe in our lives?
I will say grief is normal, but when you are unable to get unstuck from this grief, because you know sometimes we become so overtaken by the grief that we are unable to unstuck ourselves and continue with life as normal. So when you are unable to move on with life, not moving on from this person, but moving on with life, when you are unable to get out as you used to, when you are unable to go to work, you are unable to maintain relationships the way you used to, it becomes maladaptive, you know. So it becomes unhealthy in some way, and that's why you'll need a therapist to come in and help you get unstuck. Because sometimes actually grief can become overwhelming, and unless you have someone to walk with you in that journey, you might find yourself being stuck at that point.
Okay. You have said that maybe there is no time frame for grief. But I'll still ask you this, when does it end? When do you feel that I think now I'm okay? Ni kama hii grief inaniacha. As in, when does it end?
I think grief ends at the point where you are able to think of this person and even remember the memories you had without the same amount of pain you used to feel at the start of the grieving process. So that means when you are able to start doing the things you used to do with this person, but it does not hurt as much, when you are able to talk about this person, and you'll actually feel happy, you'll feel love for this person, the pain will have lessened, because grief, the pain is supposed to lessen with time, you know. In as much as grief might take long, the pain is supposed to lessen with time. So at this point, this is where we can say this person is actually moving past what they have lost.
Is it possible to overcome grief?
It is. It is. We have talked about grief that becomes maladaptive. So you can actually move past. You can actually overcome. And support system is very important. Having a supportive family, or even there are supportive online groups where you can join in, you know, because people all over the world lose people, you know. It's not a one country thing. So when you have a strong support system, you can actually be able to overcome grief with time. It takes time, and I would encourage us not to rush the process. Allow yourself to go through the process. Allow yourself to go through the process until you're fully able to function as you used to, but don't rush it. You know, we get it wrong where we rush the process. Yeah.
So what are the stages of grief?
So the first stage is the denial after loss. You know, after loss, people are usually in a state of trying to deny that this loss has happened, you know. And then in that denial, there's usually shock. You can't believe it has happened to you. Why would it happen to me, of all people? Why would I lose my father? Why would I lose my husband after just a few years in marriage? You know, that's the first stage where you face denial and shock. The second stage is anger. We usually become very angry. After the denial, anger settles in. You become angry at yourself. You direct the anger towards other people. You direct the anger towards what you have lost.
To God?
Yeah, towards God. Very, very common, you know. Some people even stop believing in God at this point if they don't deal with this stage. The third one is after anger, we usually have bargaining, where you try to bargain now with God, you know. You're like, God, I'm sorry I was angry at you. If you just bring him back, I will become better. I will treat him better. I will treat her better. I will love her more. You see, you are trying to bargain with God. Or just give me 2 days with this person. Just give me a dream with this person, you know, even a dream. So that because you know, at sometimes loss happens when you are not ready for it, you see. So there might have been things you did not say, you had not said, and then this person passes on, and you just want like space to like release whatever you had not expressed. And that's why it's important to value every moment with that person, you see, because we never really know when is the last. So yes, so after the bargaining, we come to depression. And in depression, most people get stuck here because you feel empty. There's the feeling of emptiness. You feel like you are alone. You no longer want to interact with people. You isolate yourself. So I feel like depression is like the hardest stage, more so when you don't have a supportive system to work with you. And the last one is usually acceptance, where you come to accept the reality of the loss. Because in these other stages, you are still trying to accept that this loss has happened. But in this last stage, you are able to accept, yes, it has happened. Yes, I can move on with life. Yes, they have passed on, but their memories are still with me. They will not stop being a part of my life because they have moved, passed on.
Which is the hardest stage?
Depression. Depression, because it's very easy to get stuck in depression. Because, you know, there's all these feelings of loneliness, emptiness, you know. And when you feel empty, it's so easy to get stuck there. So I would encourage you, if you're going through loss, you make sure you have a support system, and you don't push away people, because what happens in depression, you are very likely to isolate yourself from people. You are very likely to push away people who care about you, people who love you, and that is where it becomes hard. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, Faith.
Yes.
Most of the time as human beings, when we lose a loved one, okay, I know it is a journey. It is a very tough journey. But we feel good sometimes when we talk about them, when we share maybe moments with them. Like for example, I can give an example of my mother. My mother passed on in 2021. But sometimes I just miss her and I decide, let me put her photo maybe on the status or something like that. And I feel okay if I do that. But you find maybe friends feel like you are overdoing it. It is taking long, kwani you've not moved on, ama kitu kama hiyo. So someone can even tell you, maybe anaku inbox, anakwambia, please try to adjust, you kubali ishe, you move on, ya amemaliza kazi yake nini. Okay, we know, of course we know amemaliza kazi yake, ameenda nini, but is it necessary? Is it necessary? Okay, ni makosa nikimuweka status, nikiweka moments, maybe past events we did with her, ama vitu poa, good times we had with her. Is it okay? Ama why are friends or people feeling they are tired? They are tired of me maybe posting her or talking about my loved one who went to be with the Lord.
First of all, I'm sorry about the loss of your mother.
Thank you.
I think grief is a roller coaster most times, you know. There will be hard days, there will be tough days, and there will be easier days, of course. And grief is personal for each person. So I feel like the society only reacts like this because, you know, grief makes people uncomfortable, you know. When a person loses someone, most times you'll not know what to say, you know. You'll not know what the right thing to say, and even when you speak, you're not sure if you're saying the right thing, if you're helping. So most people usually anticipate, they wait for you to like stop talking about your loved one who passed away, or even move on. You know, people expect you to move on with life. And one thing when it comes to grief, there is no moving on. We can never really move on from the people we have lost. We can only adjust to not having them around, but they will still always be a part of us. So that is something people have to understand. When it comes to grieving, I encourage expression. You know, by you posting your mother, you're actually expressing your feelings. You are like pouring out the love that you would want to pour out to her, but she's not here, so you are doing it the best way you know how, and that's okay. That's very, very okay. I think with society we just need more of sensitization, more of raising awareness for people to know these things, because you know we have lived for so many years with the same perception of loss and grief, until people have to adjust how they see these things.
So what do you advise? What should I do to those people that feel that my grieving is taking too long?
When it comes to that, I think we have very little control over people's reactions and how people take things. The best you can do is do what's best for you. Because I have said when it comes to grieving, the expression of emotions is very, very important, because in some way it also contributes to you healing. You know, if you don't express, there are people who try to be strong, you know. They don't want to show that this loss affected them in one way or another. And that's not a healthy way of coping with grief, you know. Because when it comes to coping with grief, we have to find ways that will help us unburden and pour out what we are feeling within. Otherwise, when we become overwhelmed, that is where the danger comes in. It becomes chronic grief. So I think it's more of focusing on your healing, understanding that you, as the person that lost your loved one, you are the only one who will understand what that grief is doing to you. And there is no wrong way and there is no right way of grieving. That is something each of us has to understand. The way each of us grieves is very personal and it's very different. The way I'll grieve over someone is not the same way you'll grieve over someone, and that's okay. As a society, we have to be okay with that, because we can't try to make everyone grieve the same way. So it's more of allowing yourself to go through the grieving process, and in as much as they might mean well, I think some things you just have to like ignore, you know, for your own good. Because you're the one who is going through this grieving. Most people don't understand what you're going through when you are grieving, and they might think, they might want you to go through it the same way they did, which is very, very unrealistic.
Thank you, Faith, for that. Now, there's this scenario where maybe sometimes you feel now you've started overcoming. You've started overcoming. Sasa umeona, nimeanza kusahau, pole 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 pole. Then all of a sudden, memories zinakam. Memories zinakam. So what should I do?
The memories will always come. The memories will always come. As I have said, I don't believe us as human beings, we can move on. We can move on past a loss, you know? So the memories will always come. This person was a part of us, and I usually feel like when we lose a person, a part of us also goes with them, in as much as a part of them remains with us. So it is normal to have these memories come up, you know, and when they come up with emotions. They will not come and you are numb if you are attached to this person, and that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to like feel weird because they keep on coming and you're like in 6 years after the loss. It's okay to grieve. It's okay to grieve. Grieving can take a lifetime, you know. Grieving can take a lifetime, and that's okay. that's okay. We have to make it okay as a society. You know, we have to stop trying to make people move on past the loss, because it's not possible.
Wow, thank you. You have great insights, Faith.
Thank you.
My people, tuko pamoja. Grief is a very sensitive topic. It is a sensitive topic that watu wanaweza kosana juu ya hiyo story, because I feel, Faith, I feel if you've never been in that state, you might not understand. You might
true.
not understand. Yeah. So my people, this is I felt it is a very important topic that we can talk about. As I told you, we are at Big Square, Mountain View. You can order anything ukiwa tu home. Imagine, naibaridi, una call to, hello, nieke burger, nieke pizza, nieke ice cream, milkshake, 1, 2, 3, na inakuja mpaka home. So feel free to make your orders online. Faith, how can I help myself to come out of this process, maybe through this process?
What I would suggest, if as a person you feel like you have reached a point where your grieving is preventing you from continuing with life, you know, even after loss happens, we still have to show up. You know, life will not stop. Life will not stand for you to grieve. We understand, and that's okay. That's okay. So, in as much as we are saying we'll not rush the process, still there are things that will need you to tend to them. If you have children and you lose your husband after the loss, you'll still have to show up for your children. Someone else cannot come and replace you as their mother. So I feel like when you reach a point where you feel like the loss has made you stuck, has made you stagnate, you're not able to do things that you're supposed to be doing, you know, you're not able to show up for people that you are supposed to, people who are relying on you. I feel like we can always reach out, you know. There are people to support you. There are therapists who have understanding of grieving and the grieving process. There are family members, you know, you cannot just go to any family member. Yeah. Kuna wenye watakwambia you are supposed to have moved on. You are overdoing this. Hey, you are overdoing this. Tumekuongelesha mara ngapi? Mbona hausongi? You know? So you can't just go to a random family member. It's just because you have to choose wisely, because they might also interfere with your healing process. So there are therapists, there are support groups, there are family members, there are friends. Yeah. So we can always reach out. You don't have to walk the grieving process alone if you find that you are stuck at one point. It's important to get unstuck at some point. Because you know you can't be living, but you want to stay in the world of the dead. In as much as they have left a space in our lives, a vacuum in our lives. We have to find ways to adjust back to life and still remembering them, not moving past them, not overcoming who they were in our lives, but still at least, you know, there are memorials we can do for them. There are anniversaries, death anniversaries, you know, these things will keep them alive in our hearts and in our lives. But it doesn't have to make us remain stuck at that point of loss.
Wow. What happens if we don't grieve?
If we don't grieve, whenever we
try... madhe amekufa, tumemzika, imeisha, nimesahau story yake, ameenda, sisi tuko hai, sisi tukae, tuendelee na maisha. I don't believe
we are able to like ignore grief, you know, because in as much as we'll try to be strong before other people, at some point what we are repressing, what we don't want to deal with, it will always have a way of coming up. And when it does, if you did not deal with it, in the long run it will be worse than if you had dealt with it. So I don't believe in the aspect of ignoring loss. Loss is loss. It's okay to grieve, you know. You don't have to be strong in the face of grieving so that other people can be. You know, when you allow yourself to feel the feelings, to experience the grieving, you also give room for other people to also express how they are feeling, you know. Because if we lose someone, Liz, and you are my elder sister, and you are trying to repress, you are trying to ignore your feelings, see, I'll also end up doing the same. That means you'll not have given me space and room to like express how I'm feeling about the loss of our parents and our grandparents, you know. Yeah. So I don't believe in success in ignoring grief.
So grieving is important.
It is very important.
It contributes in the healing process, right?
It does.
Wow. Faith, what does the Bible say about grief?
I think God is a very loving God. God is a very understanding God. And the fact that in the book of Psalms, we see that God understands the brokenhearted. God knows when you are grieving. And the Bible actually says God is near to the brokenhearted. So I think it is a comforting thing that when we are grieving, our God is not far from us. You know, He's there with us. He's walking with us. He's actually comforting us. I love looking at God as a loving father, you know, a loving father. Even when you're going through the grief, He will still be there to comfort you in ways only you can understand. You know, not everyone will understand how God speaks to you, or how God encourages you, or how God soothes your pain. It's only you that can really understand at the end of the day. So I love the fact that God is near to the brokenhearted. So if today you are brokenhearted, God is closest to you, you know, more than, I will not say more than, but He's closer to the brokenhearted, and He mends their wounds. You will not grieve forever. God will heal your heart. God is a healer. He will heal your heart. At that point, even when you think you have stayed too long in grief, God is able to mend your heart, to repair your heart, to heal your heart, to restore you back to a place of joy, because I know grief steals our joy.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, grief steals our joy, and God is able to restore us to a place of joy.
Yeah. Wow, thank you. So my people, we've heard from Faith. I told you Faith is a consulting therapist and coach, so she knows what she's saying from experience. Thank you so much, Faith, for accepting our invitation. Indeed, we truly appreciate. To learn some few things from the topic. And my people, as Faith has said, at a Bible in a recognize your stories. I have three verses, 3 quotes the Bible. In Psalms 34:18, the Bible says that the Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Psalm 73:26 says, my flesh and my heart fails, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. And Matthew 5:4 says, blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. So, personally, I feel grief si dhambi. Si dhambi, I think it's just how you do it. Sindio? How you do it, even as you grieve maybe, remember that God is still there, and anajua why. That is why, okay, mi upata nguvu when I remember that God is with me, even in the time of grief. Sindio? So my viewers, feel encouraged at whatever state that you're in. Kumbuka tu bado Mungu wako. And one day utapata raha, inaitwa hivyo. Your joy will be, you'll get back your joy. So thank you so much, viewers. I thank you also for your comments always. Thank you for sharing. Mmekuwa watu wazuri sana, mna share. People ask me, niaje Liz, umetuweka hujaleta video ingine mpya, but we are working to be consistent. Ni kwa sababu ya moja mbili hapo, but tunashukuru. Thank you so much, Faith, for your time.
Thank you for
we truly appreciate. And I would request you for a parting shot maybe as we wrap up.
I would love to end by saying grieving is normal and it's okay. It's something that as a society we should get comfortable with and stop being uncomfortable by people who are grieving. And to anyone that is grieving right now, I want to encourage you that you are not alone. You don't have to walk this journey alone. We are here to help if you need help. If you're feeling stuck, we are here to help you get unstuck. And above all, God is with you. God is with you in your season of grieving. He has not left you. He has not forsaken you. He is a good father. He does not neglect his children. Continue holding on. It gets easier. A day at a time. A day at a time. Don't try to rush the grieving process. Take your time. Yes.
Wow.
Thank you.
We have heard, above all, God is with us. Now we are at Big Square. Wacha niwakumbushe friends, mi najua mnajua Big Square ni ya high end. Hapana. Nimeshangaa. Mnaona wako na offers za kila wiki. Monday iko na yake, Tuesday iko na yake, Wednesday iko na yake, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Leo ni Sato. Angalia Sato pesa. Msiogope ati kwa sababu ya jina. Tuweite bana friends, Wezi t-shirt ukiwa home. To promote Big Square. This is Big Square Mountain View. Wako na offers. Keep checking. Wako kwa mtandao, wako kwa Facebook, wako na. They normally post when they have the zinaitwa nini? Offers. So karibuni sana at Big Square. Check something once in a while. Fresha jamii, kwani hizi places ni kina nani wanafaa kuenda? Sisi na nyinyi ama sindio? Meanwhile sisi wacha tukule. Hii by the way ni vile sijataka kuonyesha. Hizi ni ribs. Ribs ziko hapa, so sisi tunataka kuendelea. Unajua sasa mbona nacheka? Because the man behind the camera anatamani na yeye hakuna vile anaweza kula akifanya kazi, but sisi tunaweza kula tukiongea. Sindio? Thank you so much. May God bless you.